Welcome to Real Conversations, exploring the meaning behind the music. Hi, I'm Robert Brzezinski.
And I'm Jeanne Kataoka. And together, we're having real conversations with your favorite New Thought artists.
Join us as we take a deep dive into the inspiration and meaning behind the music of New Thought. Our guests are ready to share stories from their spiritual journey and creative process with you.
Real Conversations is a chance to look behind the curtain and connect with your favorite New Thought artists.
So let's dive right in. Real Conversations, exploring the meaning behind the music. And hello again, dear ones. Welcome to another episode of Real Conversations, the meaning behind the music. I'm Reverend Robert with you.
And I'm Jeanne Kataoka.
And we are so grateful that you are here with us. We have one of the most amazing beings on the planet, Lisa Ferraro, with us here today. And we're going to get jumping right into all of this. Jeanne, I think you've got a bio and some background information to get us warmed up here, yes?
Yes, I do. So Lisa has been singing since the age of 3. As a child, she heard vibrations emanating from flowers and trees, symphonies really, ringing from the garden, and she sang constantly to express what she heard. She grew up singing in churches, where she was known as the little redhead who could sing. Lisa has debuted original music with Marvin Hamlisch at Heinz Hall for the Performing Arts in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and she was selected in 2009 as one of Pittsburgh's 50 finest by the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation of America. Lisa has performed and recorded nationally and internationally with big band jazz ensembles, rock and soul bands, and for many years as a duo with Erica Luckett, who passed in 2018. She is a highly sought music director for spiritual and New Thought conferences across the U.S. and Canada, and was the musical director for the 2009 Parliament of World Religions in Melbourne, Australia. Lisa has a distinct vocal style, which is soulful, powerful, and warm, as if you haven't heard her, you will discover. And she has a vocal range that extends over 4.5 octaves. If you don't know, that's a big range. In performance, she tries to connect with the audience individually and personally. As she says, we co-create my performances so that no two are exactly alike. As a composer, Lisa has written music for Polygram Films, Major League Baseball, the Roberto Clemente Foundation, PBS, and ABC TV. Lisa founded Soul Call, a nonprofit dedicated to improving the lives of foster children and at-risk youth. She's also a personal growth and empowerment coach and spiritual mentor. Working with executives and individuals in every sector, Lisa uses her vast work experience, keen insight, rich sense of humor, and intuitive abilities to co-create life-transforming experiences which are healthy, lasting, and effective. Once you've heard Lisa, you'll be hooked on jazz. Her pure tones keep bringing you back, whether performing on recordings, for an intimate gathering, or a sold-out concert. Lisa makes you feel as if she is singing just to you. And another insight, she laughs frequently and is particularly fond of pasta with tomato cream sauce. So welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, Jeanne and Robert. It's really an honor to be here with you this morning.
Well, we certainly appreciate you being here. So I wanted to jump in and talk a little bit about your career as an acclaimed jazz singer and how you went from singing in the garden to churches to jazz, and how did you find New Thought and the spirituality that you have now?
Great question. Thank you for that question. It's something that I was raised in a family who they were practicing Catholics, but my father kind of wasn't. And he would go, on Christmas and Easter. And so he and I had this thing in common where we felt we were closer to this very enormous thing, and we weren't feeling we were in need of intercessors to do anything for us. And so I maintained that. And as a 9-year-old, I proclaimed that I don't need this religion. I'm already connected to God myself. And so, but then I realized that my parents, I had to kind of follow along with what my mom wanted to do until I was a certain age. So I found it easier to participate. I loved singing. When I would sing, I could hear music around and inside of me all the time. And I realized it was my gift. I was always connected to source, and through my voice and music, I could awaken that feeling and that experience of this connection in others. So fast forward, I started writing music, and somebody in a New Thought church heard what I was doing and tried to convince me to be a music director at one of the Centers for Spiritual Living. At the time, it was still religious science. And I said, no, thank you. I don't want to be involved in any religion or group. I just like God, and I'll come sing for you, but I'm not. And so before you knew it, they had me seated in a living room listening to Roger Teal. And I was like, yeah, I get it. It's wonderful stuff, but I still don't want to. And eventually I ended up doing it just because it felt like a fun outlet. It was a very excellent choice. And at that, I wanted to understand religious science specifically, because if I was going to be serving that community, I wanted to understand them so that I could write songs for their ears and their hearts so that they could feel relaxed in the knowing that all there is light and love. But sometimes we need to hear it a certain way and not another way. And so I went to the Eastern Conference, which was happening back then, which is now Circle of Love Gathering, which I facilitate with Dr. David Leonard. And I met Dr. Suze Ogden, who heard me sing and convinced me that I needed to be the next music director for that rather large event. It was 500 plus people. And I said no, like 10 times. No, thank you. Thank you, no, thank you. And finally, the next year, there I was, the assistant music director. And again, I was just, I just wanted to serve God and the God in others, and I didn't want to be in any types of positions. But I stepped into it, and I'm grateful that I did. I'm grateful to her for seeing that in me and giving me the opportunity to take it from there. And that was back in 2000 or so. So then I started to sing in a lot of the New Thought communities, but I sing anywhere I'm asked for the most part. And I see, the jazz and the blues and the gospel, and it's all God. Our intention is what is the alchemy. Yeah. The alchemist is our heart. And I'm always just being guided by that light and that expression.
The alchemist is the heart, is a lovely way to put it. And I wanted to get into the song and talk about thoughts or prayers, because I think that kind of fits with what you were just saying. So can we talk about that one a little bit?
Sure. Thoughts or Prayers was written by my late wife, Erika, and she and I tweaked it together. And we both, were able to get very in step with each other as twin flames of the infinite source. When we got together, there was a charge there that we recognized each other and our approach to sharing the music we were hearing from our hearts, and it was coming through our consciousness. And there's the realization that we both had from the time we were little, that if we had a thought, we could materialize it if it was charged with divine love. We didn't know the word divine love, but it was a particular feeling that we were able to distill the essence of throughout our lives. And we approached this offering the exact same way. And so when our voices are together, it opens up a vortex. And our intention was always just to serve God, not to do anything else but that. And Thoughts or Prayers is when you think without an absent-minded, like when you think with all your might. Thoughts are not only prayers, they're things, as Linda Goodman said in a book many years ago. And to make it a release to the infinite, when you think kind of like my will to thy will, it augments our process and the likelihood of this thing coming about is greater if it's right to serve the whole. So it's an egoless way of approaching. It's not I place my word into the infant and it brings it back to me. It's a release of love and trust. And that's the prayer softens it so that it's not as much of a demand as much as it's a decree, so to speak. Each moment a note in the life I sing. That's like a daily thought. If you ever seen notes on a page, there are thousands of notes on a page, but when each one of them is sounded perfectly and fully, like when we step fully into that note, it spreads itself out so that it kind of bleeds into the next note. And you've got this sacred resonance that carries note to note. And we believed that living our lives note to note was like mala beads, prayer to prayer. Each thought we offered to the God, head, goddess, spirit, Allah, whatever you call that thing. That's kind of the backstory on how that song came to fruition.
Thank you for that. That's amazing story. So let's listen to Thoughts Are Prayers.
If thoughts are prayers and prayers are things, each moment a note in the life I sing. I welcome each thought like a prayer with the wings, knowing my thoughts create my world. If thoughts are prayers and prayers are things, each moment a note in the life I sing. I welcome each thought like a prayer with wings, knowing my thoughts create my world. As I think I am, as I love, I live. Who I am is love, and love is all there is. Thoughts are prayers, prayers are things. Each moment a note in the life I sing. I welcome each thought like a prayer with wings, knowing my thoughts create my world. As I think I am, as I love, I live. Who I am is love, and love is all there is. Thoughts are prayers, prayers are things. 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 Thoughts are prayers, prayers are things.
Thank you, Lisa. Our thoughts are prayers. Yes, yes, yes. And thank you, dear ones, for listening in. This is Real Conversations. I'm Reverend Robert Brzezinski. My co-host Jeanne Kataoka is with us today, and we're here with Lisa Ferraro, catching up on some music. And Lisa, I wanted to just kind of share, I didn't know you prior to New Thought, and I didn't know your music, and I was still kind of new to this whole philosophy and movement. I don't know that I really want to admit that was almost 20 years ago now. And I don't even remember where I first heard it. Mm-hmm. But there's a song that's on, and I think it's the Reflections album, if I'm correct, that's called There's Only One Life.
Yeah.
And I love the mantra of it. I came to learn a little bit more about the actual lyrics of the song later, and I'm going to ask you to kind of share that with us as well. But for me, this sort of represents, and correct me if I'm wrong, this feels like one of those places where this was written for the congregation. This was written for Sunday morning. And it still, for me, just holds that over time, that everything about this feels like a divine download, a perfection, a perfect musical moment. And I've always wanted to know your feelings around that, how it came into being, what it represents for you. So would you share a little bit with us on There's Only One Life?
Yes. Thank you for that question, Robert. This piece right here, There's Only One Life, we created it using sacred geometry. So it is the mantra. We were in Anaheim. I was music directing. It was 2009. And Reverend Dr. Edward Viljoen had the entire ballroom take their mala beads, 108, and just say 108 times together. Maybe like 1,000 people there. I don't know. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. And in the mantra of it, later that afternoon, Erika's like, I got this thing. Let's do this. And so what we did was there were several variations of it, none quite as powerful as the one that we wrote. And I say that with all humble respect to the infinite creator. But what we were intentional about was we were intentional about creating it in a way where you couldn't fall out of the vortex. So in the entrainment of the chant itself is powerful enough, but then using different harmonies coming in at different times, you'll be able to start the phrase. If you get lost, there's a phrase always starting. It's always starting and ending and starting and ending. So you'll never lose your beginning and you never lose the end. So you can complete this circle of infinity and create a vortex within your being. The vibration of your humanness is enough. And so we started performing this live. We composed it. And I think the next year is when the organizations were coming together. And we did it at a Silomar with the music team. And you want to talk about the roof coming off the place. People were falling out. And it was a time, it was a little tense because even in religious science, there were those two sides that had a different strong idea of how it should look. And that can happen sometimes in a movement that allows people to think their own thoughts. But if they're not vibrating all the way where the one is, then we have differences, right? So we very much wanted to bring everyone to the opportunity, at least, of feeling what it's like to really experience oneness. And then we did it with the huge choir. And people who are not necessarily feeling first people had the most powerful experiences of seeing the entire roof of a Silomar Merrill Hall coming off the top and just light streaming. People's brains get rewired. So when you listen to this, if you've got a challenge or something that needs to be rewired in your brain, it could literally physically, physiologically do it. It was designed co-created with the source, and it's powerful.
Yeah. I was at that Asilomar.
Okay.
And I shared in both of those experiences, and that really is one of those places that anchored for me in a personal way. And just as you're explaining, it made the experience of oneness really real for me.
And then everywhere we've done it, it Reverend Dr. Lisa Garcia, she had us come and do it. We started doing choir workshops to teach other choirs how to do it, what they should be feeling, what to open up to. And then it was miraculous. They were singing out of their minds, literally, which was the point, right? Robert, I hear you laugh because you get it. So that's why that one is so powerful. And Erika's, genius as a composer. And then we just kind of blew the roof off ourselves too, and poured even more into it.
All right. Well, let's do it, folks. Let's take a little time here and be in the vibration of this. I love what Lisa said. The vibration of your beingness is enough.
Yeah.
There's only one life. Enjoy.
There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect. is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only that life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now.
Oh, wow. That is just so powerful.
Thank you, Jeannie.
And since I'm feeling awe at the moment, let's talk about awe.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to ask, being somewhat of a linguist, grammarian, writer background, I'm interested in knowing why it's written with all capital letters.
Because Erika, we were driving someplace one time, and there was a lot of, the political climate can always be challenging, but there was a bumper sticker in front of us on a car that said, if you're not outraged, in capital letters, if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. And so we were like, no, like, because that's living in constant fear and denying the essence of how we can affect positive shifts, And so that's where, if you're not in awe, you're not paying attention. So it's the flick on that, awe. It's just really to exclamation point. Yeah. AWE.
All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, let's give that one a listen.
Certainty's like clutching what you know inside your fist, like there's no room to question what might loom beyond your wrist. It's the comfort of right angles, the ease of solid lines. It's the emptiness of a lonely box and the space that it defines. Oh, 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 oh. There were times in school when I had fun with the exactness of the game, thinking I would know a flower once I could say its Latin name, like names and addresses, dates of birth would readily explain why some people crave the sun while others love the rain. Holding the mystery, step into the river and feel eternity as the sun will rise and the rain will fall. May I begin each day with gratitude and awe. If I could define in this vast design what was possible or real, I'd never see the desert turn to water or the ocean turn to steel. But I've seen those wonders many times, and each time I recall the wonder, the wonder, the wonder of it all. Holding the mystery, step into the river and feel eternity as the sun will rise and the rain will fall. May I begin each day with gratitude and awe. If we're not in awe, we're not paying attention. If we're not in awe, we're not paying attention. If we're not in awe, we're not paying attention. Inside every one of us, contained in each square inch of blood, there are 75 billion cells. 75 billion cells functioning on our behalf, so that we may simply be. I think of that as a conspiracy of life. And since I'm being a bit reflective, I'd like to add to this human/life perspective. If we took every cell phone on the planet, every telephone line on the globe, and registered the conversations conveyed, the trillions of messages relayed, the entire system would still not approximate the complexity or functionality of a single human brain. That's just another way of trying to portray the miraculous privilege we have of playing this human game, holding a mystery. Step into the river and feel eternity as the sun will rise and the rain will fall. May we begin each day with gratitude and awe, holding the mystery. Step into the river and feel eternity as the sun will rise and the rain will fall. May we begin each day with gratitude and awe. May we begin each day with gratitude and awe. May we begin each day with gratitude and awe.
Yep, that's a keeper. Let's just stay in awe of that one. I'd like to move on and talk about breath.
Mm-hmm.
I know that has a big significance for you and your life with Attica.
Yeah.
So can you speak to that for us, would you please?
Thank you for that question too. This song is technically the very first. I invited Attica to come to a Circle of Love gathering after I invited her to come to a conference in Miami. I was music directing. And over the summer, from February for the Miami event to November, she sent me a bunch of things. And one of them was like the start of this song, Breath. And I immediately spent as much time as I had to learn a harmony part to it. So it's the very first song we sang together, intentionally in front of a group of people. And ironically, quite personally too, at the end of Attica's life, the morning she transitioned, October 24th, 2018, that morning she asked for her guitar around 11 o'clock. And we sang that one more time. And I'm getting a little emotional because it's how we live. With each breath, our intention was to breathe holiness, sacredness into every breath. And sometimes that falls on people's minds and it scares them into like, you got to shut that down, or that's too much. I can't take that much. And other times it'll fall right onto your heart and you'll say, yeah, that's it. So our intention, let's meet at the place where we begin. It's our lives are breath to breath, from the first breath to the last breath. And everything in between are those notes that we make alive with our breath. So our breath is what shapes our life. The thoughts are prayers, that there's only one life. And so it's such a insightful choice, Jeannie and Robert, to choose that one, because it was one that meant so much to us and so many people. Yeah.
Well, that's why we chose it. So let's listen to that one. Here's Breath.
Let's meet at the place where you and I begin. We'll move through water and into stone. Where stone melts to fire and fire turns to light, where my breath becomes your breath and your breath becomes mine. My breath becomes your breath and your breath becomes mine. I thought I dreamt these kiss, but when I woke, there was dew upon my lips. There was dew upon my lips. We'll wind our hands back to where time holds still. No need to hurry or wait until where ends our beginnings, and now is always the time where my breath becomes your breath and your breath becomes mine. My breath becomes your breath and your breath becomes mine. I thought I dreamt this kiss, but when I woke, there was dew upon my lips. There was dew upon my lips. I look in your eyes and feel the infinite divine, where my breath becomes your breath and your breath becomes mine. My breath becomes your breath and your breath becomes my breath and my breath becomes your breath and your breath becomes
And I'll tell you, Lisa, you're not the only one that gets a little emotional listening to that. It's so beautiful, so beautiful. That's one of those songs that breaks me open and makes me remember just how special life is.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that in. And, you know, folks, we would love to go over your entire catalog, musical catalog, and because there's so many things, and if I had to say, what does Erica's music do? To me, it opens the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And the next song we'd like to talk about, that does it for me as well. And the song is Leaning Towards the Good. And I'd love to hear a little bit more. How does that come into being? The story behind how does that come into your musical repertoire, and where does it fit within that repertoire?
Yeah. So thank you for that question. Leaning Toward the Good, most people remember Erika and I toured across Turkey with a Sufi sheikh, Kabir Helminski, and put music to the poetry of 13th century mystic poet Rumi. And that was a widely acclaimed recording that got us invited to the Parliament of the World's Religions in Melbourne, Australia, as individuals not affiliated with any group, but our own, Sufism, the love of the heart. And coming out of that, that's kind of when we both started getting the idea of founding Soul Call Ministries, which is what I'm doing now, as its own philosophy, pulling wisdom from different places. And so I founded it in 1999, but then Soul Call Ministries, I just launched it in April of this year, of 2020. Leaning Toward the Good plays into that because it was right after Erika's challenge with ovarian cancer in 2011. That, and I bring that up because we just remembered how precious life is, but there was an instance where we looked into each other's eyes. We thought she had 30 minutes to live, and we didn't speak a word, but our souls just exchanged eons of pieces of information like that was in us at the same time. And we had this divine realization, even on a deeper level. We were so different coming out of that experience that some of her family members were in town, but they couldn't even be around us because we were just so different. Our vibration shifted. Our music shifted even to a higher vibration. Within, without, our cells just were transformed again. And Leaning Toward the Good was written after that round where Erika was given a 3% chance of survival, where she actually did it. And it was our love together that transformed the outcome and invited more instead of less. And we never retracted or got small. And so Leaning Toward the Good is a reminder of when you're walking across a tightrope, with stormy seas below, bare toes on open wire, as there's the line, just remember that we are always held in this infinite source of love. And even if we crash to our human death, our love is eternal, and you don't really die. And that's what it was, to just keep your eye on the other side of the wire, leaning toward all the good in your life, because when it hits the fan, if you can focus on all the good, all the positive, all the people, like this community is our family. Man, we were so supported and loved, and it got us through. It helps your cells to stay awake and not crumble. Long story, but that's kind of the power of leaning toward the good.
Yeah.
I like the long ones.
But folks, let's lean in towards the good here. This is Lisa Ferraro, Erika Luckett, Leaning Toward the Good. Enjoy.
Walking a tightrope over stormy seas below, bare toes on open wire, stretched from cliffs of stone. The pull and the tug of forces still not understood. I am leaning toward the good. I'm leaning toward the good. I lay down my armor and I set down my
Lisa, I want to say thank you, not only for being the artist you are and sharing and bringing in this great music into the world. I want to say thank you for sharing Erica with us this morning. And it feels like by sharing with you, that she's here, her presence is here, her that divine spark that is the creativity she brought to the planet is with us as well here today. So we want to thank you for that.
You. My joy, believe me.
And I can't imagine. And thankfully, I can't imagine what it would be like to have such a deep, meaningful relationship with another artist, and then to have that end. And yet you've been able to continue on, and you have a new musical collaboration in your life, Natalia Zuckerman. And you have come together, and the album, and I think it's a band, and it's called Seek Her 7. So there's a little bit of play there, folks, right? Seek Her, Her, Her. If you would, share with us a little bit about how you strike gold twice, how you strike lightning twice, and find another amazing voice and talent to share who you are in your expression.
Yeah, great question. Thank you. And Natalia Zuckerman was a longtime friend of Erika's. And so she and Erika were friends for 20-some years, like 20 years. And so I got to know Natalia over a little over a dozen years Erika and I were together. And, she we were going to do a tribute to the music of Erika Luckett in 2019 in May in the Bay Area. And Natalia and I started to talk on the phone. We talked on Zoom a couple of times. And I wanted because she's such an extraordinary guitarist, a lot of people play guitar very well, but Erika was a virtuoso guitar player. So a lot of the things she was playing, most people can't even understand what she was doing. And I mean, sincerely accomplished people who have guitars named after them don't even know what she was doing. They can't figure it out. But Natalia, on the other hand, I spent a lot of time with Erika. And she's a beautiful human being who kind of swooped in on me and made me laugh. And we could share our love for this same person. And so through the course of that, I wanted Natalia to be the one to sing some of those Rumi songs with me. I affectionately refer to them as Rumi tunes. Now, those were the most personal of our collection, many of them, because it was such an amazing journey, the songs inspired by the poetry of Rumi. And so Natalia and I started to sing together, and we just loved the way our voices went together. There's a bubble of joy that is I don't know. You could probably hear it, Robert, right? Like it's different. It has a different quality. And Erika is so in the middle of everything I'm doing with this new music, with Soul Call Ministry. She guides me. If I'm writing something, all of a sudden I'll have to put my pen down and she'll direct me. I'll just go to a drawer for no reason, random, and I'll open it, and there'll be a notebook in the back of the drawer with Erika's handwriting on it. And it's the very thing I'm writing about. And it's the piece I was contemplating. It's like right there. So she's still an eternal part of me. And we both think that she's responsible for this beautiful collaboration between Natalia and me. And we're loving it. We're loving the music we get to create. And thanks for highlighting some of our new stuff. We're having a really nice experience. And
yeah, absolutely. So give us the 60-second intro for Echo of a Prayer.
Yeah, Echo of a Prayer is like, who would look away as the echo of a prayer returns? It could be this thing that maybe you thought you could have had when you were in your child's mind a long time ago. And then all of a sudden we get exposed to what the world says is real, and maybe it's hard. And then all of a sudden, unconditional love is standing right in front of you. And you got to stand there and see it and say, oh my gosh, all I want to do is be around this thing. I want to be in service to it. you can't turn away from it. It's everything I could have ever asked for, this joy, this life, this love, is right there. And this time I'm not going to lose sight of it.
All right. Well, let's give it a listen, folks. This is Lisa Ferraro, Natalia Zuckerman, and Seek Her 7. The song is called Echo of a Prayer. Enjoy.
My vision's getting clearer. Life is now a mirror. In the space between time, between the thought of yours and mine, clearer. Suddenly I'm restless. There's no room for what is less than. Whatever does not shine, it's all yours and it's all mine. Restless. When I see you, I can see your heart. Who will look away? Yes. The echo of a prayer. Return. There is no decision living from this wisdom. Light is all around, never lost and never found. Vision. When I see you, I can see your heart. Who will look away? Yes. The echo of a prayer. See your heart. Who would look away? Yes, the echo of a prayer. Return. Returning. Returning.
And this is one of a handful of songs on this album, folks. You know, it's available on Google and iTunes, all the places you can find it. The other song that really just jumped right out at me, and I know it's part of my nature that it jumped out. It's also the first song on the album, Sing About It. Can you share with us a little bit of the inspiration on how that comes into being?
Yeah, let's see. Natalia and I were driving back from the National Women's Music Festival in July of 2019. And for some reason, it was over 4th of July weekend. And for some reason, it doesn't take 11 hours to get back from Wisconsin to Columbus, Ohio, where I'm living. But it was the traffic was unbelievable. So it was like 11 hours drive. And we didn't get back to my house until like 10 p.m. that night, and went for a walk around the block. This is so funny. And then came back in, and Natalia is very fond of dance parties. Like, we need to dance it out. I'm like, yeah, because that was just so long and grueling. So we went to the music room of our home and went downstairs, and she played the Wood Brothers song, Sing About It. I'd never heard it before. And I got hooked on it. And then the next day, we just picked up the guitar and learned it. And it was the first one when I visited her. Again, we sang it from the porch of her log cabin up in upstate New York, and put it in a video and just loved it. It just brings us joy to think of how this song is just so fun and a good reminder of no matter what the heck kind of a day you just had, if you could sing about it, your cells will bounce back into that puffed up joy mode, which is helps us cope. So that's the story.
All right, beautiful. Well, let's give it a listen, folks, and we'll be sure to make sure we leave a link to that video in the notes to this program. Check out the podcast notes to this program, and you'll be able to go check out the video as well. But for now, let's listen to the song. This is "Sing About It" by Seek Her 7.
If you get worried, what you ought to do is sing. If you get worried, what you ought to do is sing. If you get worried, what you ought to do is sing. Sing about your troubles, they just might pass. And if you get lost, what you ought to do is sing. If you get lost, what you ought to do is sing. If you get lost, what you ought to do is sing. Sing about your troubles, they just might pass. Sing about your troubles, they just might pass. Sing about joy. Sing about love and hope and love. Sing about your troubles, they just might pass. Just might pass. And if you get broken, what you ought to do is sing. If you get broken, what you ought to do is sing. If you get broken, what you ought to do is sing. Sing about your troubles, they just might pass. Sing about your troubles, they just might pass.
Yep, it's a fun one. I like that one. So this is the time, Lisa, that we give you a chance to do a little self-promotion, talk about upcoming projects. I'm sure you want to tell us what's going on with Soul Call Ministries.
Oh, thank you for asking, Jeanne.
Oh.
Yes. So Soul Call Ministries is the next iteration of Lisa and Erika. Even though I founded it in 1999 before I knew Erika, it was working together with Family Links in Pittsburgh. We would work with children. I'm really concerned with foster children. There were a lot of people, and I'm not getting political about this, but I just want to say I've recognized through the years of service, I worked in abused and battered women's shelters. And then there's the foster children. And there's, with the funding that keeps getting cut for these social services, there's the pro-birther movement. But then after these children come to the planet, there's nothing to help sustain a quality of life that could help support them into a God-realized state. It's really tough. And their moms fall in the middle of it by disempowering women and children, we can maintain some kind of a hierarchy that doesn't need to exist in our country or in the world. And so I became really clear about this. And then I went back to school and got my degree in developmental psychology in the early 2000s. So it's very recent, so that I could better understand the needs of women and children. And so Soul Call Ministries is designed to, as an educational, spiritual component to life, teaching philosophies that help us to become God realized and to realize that it's beyond thought. We are moving very quickly into a higher vibration of consciousness where we have access to a lot more information and a lot more love if we could spread ourselves out. And so Soul Call Ministries, we have Sunday morning programs where we teach Qigong. We go into a meditation. Then there's a little something for the mind, a little lesson, then some more music. And then we're out. We've got a thing called the Soul Squad. And we've got a prayer group, great prayer practitioners, and also people who just know how to hold a space for others to grow into. So Erika and I would say it's like we thought that our music and our consciousness, our love, could kind of hold the door open for others. Like we always pictured ourselves with, as we're singing, we've got, if you got a handful of stuff and somebody just kind of kicks their leg and holds the door open. We wanted to create a situation of love and vibration where we could hold that door open as often as possible for as long as possible. And Soul Call Ministries endeavors to do that by helping educate individuals like us to what our capacity is and how we can serve others and help bring them up to a level where they can begin to reach upward instead of downward for necessities. And so that's what we're doing now.
Wow. Wonderful work. That's just wonderful. Now I'm about to ask you the not so secret question, and I know this is a difficult one because I know how musicians feel about their music, but what, Lisa, is your favorite song in your catalog?
Oh, you've done it again. Let's see. It's probably one off of a CD that most people don't even know I recorded in the 90s. It's off of a CD I wrote called Balance. And the song is called I Am the Light. I think, and the reason I like that one the best, I love them all because they're all of this thing, but it was the first one that when I started to write music again, I quit my job in the financial services industry because I realized, whoa, I was peddling fear by making people think that it was only about money. It's not. It's a definite vital piece of how we can sustain and help people, but that's not it. It's not what drives us. And so I was falling asleep. I was starting to meditate. This is a while ago. I was in my very early 20s. And I started to contemplate light. And I just remembered falling asleep asking God, like, so if you are light and we can perceive darkness, you must be in the darkness too, or we couldn't even perceive it. So what, all these kinds of questions. And the song called The Answer, I Am the Light, is the one that came, and it woke me up very shyly just to see if I was paying attention. And as soon as that one came out, I got up from my bed and I went into my kitchen at the time and lit a candle and wrote the entire song from start to finish. And that's how I've written many, many songs. So that was as they say, the proverbial pinprick to the waterfall of music that began again like it had from the time I was little. I had this little, there's like 17, 20 years in between. And then all of a sudden I was back. And so that one's probably the most special to me, Jeanne. Thank you for that question. I haven't thought about that in a long time.
You're very welcome. All right, listeners, let's give a listen to The Answer, I Am the Light, Lisa Ferraro's favorite song.
In all that you
Oh, and I think I might have a favorite song now, a new favorite song now as well. Definitely going to make the top 10 of the week list, that's for sure. So thank you, Lisa. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing with us and our audience. Again, folks, this is Real Conversations, the meaning behind the music, a production of the New Thought Media Network. We want to give a big shout out and thank you to New Thought Media Network for all they do to make sure these programs come alive, and for our artists. So again, we'll make sure to leave links in the show notes, how you can purchase Lisa's music, where you can connect with her on Facebook, online, on the web, and with Soul Call Ministries as well. I encourage you, go search that out on YouTube right now, Soul Call Ministries, and you'll and just hit that subscribe button. So, Lisa, we're gonna break the rules and say goodbye, and then play a song on the way out. So, if you got one more minute, give us a little insight on the song Quietude.
Quietude. All right, Robert and Jeanne, first I want to thank you both for this platform and the amazing work you do in your consciousness. It's really fantastic, and thank you for the privilege of sharing this time with you and all the listeners today. And December 7th, I'll be doing a live stream of Jazz Up the Holidays, which will support Soul Call Ministries and women and children. But Quietude, Erika and I were doing a soul session, one of those beautiful music meditations we became known for. And it happened to be, it was going to be the evening of the day Dr. Maya Angelou made her transition. And so we spent that morning finding our favorite quotes of Dr. Maya Angelou. And Quietude was inspired by her final tweet, which is, if you listen to yourself in the quietude, you might hear the voice of God. And that's the story behind that one. And we wrote about 8 songs that day and did them all that night. We were at Heart and Soul Center of Light with Reverend Andreette that night, but she'd invite us in on Wednesdays, and we would come in and do these music meditations, offer our time there to that lovely community when we were on the road. We like to be there, and OCSL, they were like our homes away from home in the Bay Area. We love those communities. We love them all, but at home, that's where you would see us, or at the meditation temple. But Quietude would really help people get into that meditative mode where the experience of the infinite became a little more readily available. And I'm just going to say this too. Quietude is on the very last recording Erika and I did on our wedding anniversary, September 10th of 2018, just a couple of weeks before Erika made her transition. So this is one of the last recordings we ever got to do. And it's really this place called Here, that whole recording is, you could just feel the energy on it. We knew it was going to be our last, and it's all in there.
All right. Well, Jeannie, thank you for being with us today. Lisa, thank you for being here. And we're going to sign off and let you listen to Quietude. Until next time, peace and blessings.
If you listen to yourself in the quietude, you might hear the voice of God. If you listen to yourself in the quietude, you might hear the voice of God. If you listen to yourself in the quietude, you might hear the voice of God. If you listen to yourself in the quietude, you might hear the voice of God. The voice of God voice of God. You might hear the voice of God. The voice of God, the voice of God. You might hear the voice of God. If you listen to yourself in the quietude, you might hear the voice of God. If you listen to yourself in the quietude, may you hear the voice of God.
Thank you for listening to Real Conversations, exploring the meaning behind the music. Real Conversations is produced by the New Thought Radio Network, sharing a vibration of love, positivity, and empowerment through a variety of media streams. Learn more on the web at newthoughtmedianetwork.org. Listen to past episodes of Real Conversations on the podcast page at newthoughtradio.net. Until next time, peace and blessings. Go forth and prosper.